Wow, this story will inspire you. Please, I want you to listen to this story with your minds wide open. Man, this will inspire you. This is a story about how FCMB Bank was founded. And I know that FCMB Bank, that bank where they get white, FCMB Bank. Listen to how it was founded. It will inspire you greatly.
I recently heard the story of FCMB and it blew my mind. Several years ago, their founder, Mr. Michael Shubomi Balogun, built his first house in Apapa. And back then, he had a neighbor. The neighbor had to relocate to eastern Nigeria.
Okay.
This was during the Civil War. And because the house was vacant, some street urchins began to stay in that place.
Okay.
Mr. Michael was actually scared for himself because if his neighbor's house has been infiltrated,
His
his own house wasn't safe either. So he called the police and they cleared the people out. And one thing he did was that instead of leaving the house vacant, he rented the facility out.
Wow.
And fast forward a couple of years after, the Civil War was over and his neighbor came back. And upon meeting his neighbor and they exchanged pleasantries, he says, you know what, please follow me. And went to his house and brought out an envelope and gave to his neighbor and said, this is the rent that I collected for you in your
Wow.
absence. And his neighbor was like, oh my God, thank you so much for being thoughtful. Now, fast forward several years after, Mr. Michael Balogun had a dream of owning a bank. If
Okay.
you are very familiar with how the banking industry worked back then, you can't just wake up and say you want to own a bank
At
as
all.
an indigenous
You must be
Nigerian.
Igbo.
You pretty much had to have maybe one white, support
Must be
or
Igbo.
somebody. You need to have like some leg on the ground in that industry particularly. But against all odds, he was fighting and pushing. One of the people that was trying to help him approve the stuff told him, look, there's someone that can help you, and that person is the vice president.
Wow.
And he goes, oh my God, okay, I know what to do. Funny story. He knew that the vice president was coming to the Cathedral Church of Christ at Marina, and then he
CMS.
told his wife to accompany him, and they had a simple plan. When the vice president comes out, you will hold his wife's garment, I will hold his garment, and we will beg him and convince him to please help us.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to the day that the vice president came to the church, they did exactly what they said. And as they did that, the vice president's security were wondering what was happening. And so the vice president turned and said, Shubomi, Bimbola, what's happening? Turns out that the vice president was the same neighbor that he helped several years ago, Alex Ekweme. Now the late Shubomi begins to tell Alex Ekweme that he was trying to get a license to run a bank, and he hits a lot of brick walls on the way. And immediately the vice president said, come to my office
Let's
and
talk.
let's discuss this. And that was how the late vice president Alex Ekweme was able to help the late Michael Shubomi Balogun get a license to run the bank, and that bank is the FCMB. I think the entire lesson has been said already. It pays to be good. Every time I drive by an FCMB branch, I remember that it was acts of kindness that were later reciprocated that brought that bank that I see.
Let me tell you something. Good no dey loss. No matter anything you do for this life, a time is coming where we say they go either reward you for that good way you do or for that bad way you do. I'm telling you, it dey wait for you for road. Man, that act of kindness where we say that person show to LS Okweme, now you don't reap am from that same LS Okweme. Now so it be. As I always tell people, don't be wicked because you don't know tomorrow. That pace where be say you think say you pass today, it might be the door to your next level tomorrow. That's what it just be for life. So be good.